Now, how did your solo bass, the bass solo you actually play, evolve?
Well, we used to do a song, Mr. Big, we used to play. Did that song by Free in
Right.
Tallis in the old band. And he used to have this real long. I'll keep playing. I would hit that note though. And it's just a little bass solo in between those changes. So one night I told the guys before I went on stage, it was at the Poorhouse West in Hamburg, New York. And I told him before when I said, look, when we get to the part, Mr. Big, I'll just look over, I go, 2, 3, 4, and just stop dead, and I'll just go.
They'll lay out completely,
You'll
just keep going.
And then I'll cue you to come back in. It was like, oh, here we go. This is 1972, maybe, or 3. And sure enough, I stopped dead and went to this, all these bass things. I did a few Bach things that I've been working on and learned, you know, and some things that I'd worked out in other songs that I was doing behind that people that hadn't noticed yet, you know, because it was in context of other songs. I just counted them back in, 2, 3, 4, and we ended the song, and that was basically the first time I ever did that.
And it went over.
Yeah, it worked really good. Hendrix did that. I mean, with the unaccompanied solos,
Sure.
he's the first guy I really heard doing unaccompanied solos.
Sure.
So it was kind of, he laid the groundwork for it, and.
Like Star Spangled Banner, things like that, you mean?
Yeah, things like that, where we just go wailing away and stuff like that. And then after a while, I'd like be doing, you know, some of Mussorgsky's, you know.
Aha.
You know,
Right, pictures at an exhibition.
all the little things like that, throwing all in the solo thing. And it was really funny because it was rare for guitarists to do it back then. For a bass player, people were completely. Some people didn't like it at all. Hey, we can't dance with this, you know. So, you know, those people eventually weeded away, and we just drew more of another kind of people.
They kind of went off to disco, huh?
Yeah, exactly. They tore the stage down, put a mirror ball up, and that was the end of that. But yeah, that's just basically how it worked. Then I would just do pieces of songs and things. And now it's kind of evolved to a point where I just flail away, and I got some guidelines as to what I do. And solo is sometimes it's very much like what I used to do a long time ago. Sometimes it's all new. Try and be a little improvisational, but right now we're out touring with Rush, so in front of 15,000 people, you don't necessarily want to take a big chance, but it's fun if you take a little bit of a chance, you know, try something new you've never done before, you know.
Does it have a structure, though?
I play
loosely.
Yeah, I play some wild stuff. I back it down. I play some quiet stuff, and I come back and do some more stuff. You know, and within context, at some point or another, there's various things that I've done throughout my whole life, and every night I'll always do something that I haven't done before or I haven't tried before, some combination of things. So it's always different. The solo is always different, but it has basically the context of, like a lot of classical pieces, you start out with the main theme, you back off, and you do a couple sub things, and you come back in with a big grandiose finish. You know? So that's pretty much what it is. And then we go right into Addicted, and the solo now with a little part, and then Pat comes in and does the drum things, and Paul comes in and we trade some stuff off, and that's our story, sad but true.
Now, another extension of chords that you seem to use a lot is the idea in NV, that one section in your NV solo where you tap chords on.
Yeah, that was back in about 1983 or 82 even. I don't even know where it came from. I was just kind of, I was doing holding a chord and doing a little trill on top of it. There's a D major chord. I found out that all those notes there kind of worked. So again, looking at the simplistic point of view that I did and still do sometimes. Now I made the chord a minor, which means this note does not work. This has got to go.
Right.
So it's. That was an accidental move. When I first did that, I had no idea. Another accidental one. There's a C chord here, and I'm playing. Actually, it's a G major chord over a C.
Yeah.
See how that works?
Exactly.
Then a simple ascension like that. The fingering is kind of tricky. I saw when I did a clinic in Japan, I saw a kid try to do that, and he had the whole thing, but he had these fingerings that were all like,
oh, really?
all over the place. But it's actually, again, a lot of times when you hear something, it sounds more complicated than it really is. When people are watching me play, I know they have a puzzled look on their face, like going, I'm hearing all these notes, but he's not really, doesn't really look like he's doing anything, because I'm really not. I mean, it's just a way of economy of motion, like we talked about last time.
There's more logic, maybe, in what you're doing than what they're expecting to hear.
Yeah.
They expect it to be tricky, in other words, so they're looking for the tricky way of executing it.
Right, but in actual fact, when you're playing live, you want to keep it as least tricky for you as possible. Because you could probably do some histrionics and acrobatic kind of moves there, but when you're, like, again, running across the stage, it doesn't always work. So I try to do things that really depend on strength. You can really get a really strong, hard tone on that aren't so weirdly esoteric. It's going to be difficult for you to just summon up at any given time from your imagination.
What are some of the other key points that you like in your NV solo?
There's a couple like.
Now, how did that develop?
That was
idea?
Taken from the Van Halen.
Oh, Mean Street.
That thing there, which I don't want to play too much of to encroach upon Eddie's thing. But when I first saw him doing that in 1980, it was part of a solo, and later on he put it into the intro of a song. An amazing piece of music, and it's actually, I think, from what I understand, taken from a
bass
slap figure. Because Eddie's a great bass player and a good drummer too. It helps out his guitar playing. That's why I urge bass players to learn a little bit about guitar and definitely a lot about drums, because it helps out your playing a lot.
So remember that.
Remember that. So so that tapping thing, because I never did the thumb thing. I can't. I'm just not. I practice it once in a while, but so many other guys have it so much better than I do. Why even bother? You know, just call
you probably could, but you got priorities.
Yeah, I would like to, because it's really great. But so I just did a lot of tapping with this finger naturally, because I never even really knew about the thumb stuff because most of the stuff I played didn't require it in most rock bands. Just a way of you're hitting out of the octave.
You're getting so much sound, and it looks so light, the way you're playing it.
Yeah, it's kind of a touch that you get. Your finger actually kind of bounces off. A lot of guys like hold it on there too long. It's just kind of a way of bouncing your fingers, both on the right and left hand.
Now, what's happening in your left hand at that point? Aha. And so this upper note section has a pedal kind of effect. It stays put while the other notes below it change.
You're kind of getting that chord there, so you got to kind of stick within the realms of what works with those three notes. So
it gets pretty elaborate.
Yeah, so now anybody watching this can take that and do any kind of chord structure in the world they possibly conceive of.
It should be in one key, similar key, chord changes related.
Or experiment. I can honestly say I've never played that pattern before in my life before this moment here.
And the open strings are a part of it, of course.
Yeah, so you can, the variations are limitless that you can do with it.